Live from the apocalypse, this is State of the Game, and I'm here to tell you we are one famous porn star shout out from being a big deal. I'm talking to you, Pinky. So, my name is Dano. I am your gracious host. I got a promotion at work. I went to the announcement Teams meeting or whatever, and I changed my background to Benny Blanco at the subway to let him know. I still got the hunger. I'm coming. I'm leaving. You're gonna have to deal with it. So I'm having a great time. My co-host, bathed in the blood of his enemies, we're talking about K Diggy. Thank you for joining me each week. I am still mad at you, K Diggy. Can't believe this. So there's an NBA fantasy league. We're trying to find people for it. My wife was shaming me because I didn't think of Keith quickly enough. I asked Keith. Keith's like, sure, I'll be in there, but I'm not going to actually go to the draft. I have a party to go to. Doesn't go to the draft. I picked 12th for the second year in a row. Keith gets Jokic.
Number one pick, yeah.
One pick.
I was as shocked as you were.
Walks away with Jokic with the 60 fantasy points every game. Yeah. What are you going to do? Stat stuff. So thank you for being here, sir. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about we've got a doubleheader right now. We're talking to the team. We are talking to the man who makes the song cry, Ed Glorious. No question about it. And the sound of 2022, the voice of Teller Banks, the lead single. You're talking about Jason Griff puts out his new album, the lead single, Discman, and Teller just eating the track alive.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Yeah. As an MC, Teller's like the Predator, he's out there. So I'm excited to have both, and we are going to talk today about one of the truly impressive trilogies of albums in recent years, right? The Grotesque and Beautiful, the Part and Parcel, and the I and I. What I like about it, and allow me to get negative while being positive. It's my thing. There's a lot of series out here in hip hop that aren't interesting. That are like part 8 of a series that is the same thing. You can see that where somebody's like, this is my series and this is part 9 of it. It's basically the same beats. It's basically the same content. And I'm so excited to give it to you. And I'm like, why? Why is everybody so excited? There's a lot of that. I actually did a rant on that separately for the subscribers. But this series is very specific. It's very cinematic, and every album is different from the other album, and they fit into a journey. I think an emotional journey that is just very well crafted. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Does that make sense, or am I overstepping with that?
Nah, I mean, honestly, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, the trilogy was never really, I wouldn't say it was ever really planned out in advance. I knew that me and Ed would keep working together, you know what I mean? But it wasn't something where it was planned out in advance. All right, we're gonna do this trilogy. It's gonna cover, you know what I mean, these things. Everything kind of happened almost like divine timing, you know what I mean? Ed was going through his stuff, I was going through my stuff, and it just kind of culminated together to be the perfect, canvas for the perfect moment. You know what I mean? Especially with that first one, um, the Grotesque and Beautiful. That one. Yeah, that one kind of started it off and kind of like laid the groundwork for it. But even after that one was done, like I didn't necessarily think about like expanding on that universe until like I got, kind of halfway through writing and putting together the part and parcel, and I realized like, oh, okay, this is actually the next piece of this. Like it actually is the next piece of this. It's not just tied together in the sense of like a name, right? Because I had done another trilogy before with Black Knight where it kind of follows, you know what I mean? The theme really is like the sound character. It's more like a black exploitation film. You know what I mean? Everything is like loud and kind of like, exaggerated. But this one was just a lot more like personal, and like close to home for me. And I needed, you know what I mean? I don't know what it was about Ed's beats that kind of like took me to that place, but I really needed to go there.
Mm. And what was the origination? Where did you guys meet? How did you guys end up linking up?
Yeah, man. I want to say Sequence did
Yeah, it was
some.
Sequence.
Yeah, Sequence did a record, and I think Ed produced it. And Sequence is like a good friend of mine, low key. Somebody I learned a lot from as far as like navigating the internet. Because I didn't really know how to do that. I'm not very like personable. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, just through him, I think I don't remember even how it was that I can't remember if I reached out to Ed or I don't remember what it was that happened. I just remember the first beat that he sent me was that joint for Suicide Hotline 3.
Wow.
I did that, and then it was like I kind of put it all on the back burner for like a couple months. I was real busy. I want to say like shit, was we doing the protests and shit? I feel like we was doing the protests and shit, like
Yeah.
COVID popping off. And then really, man, I did some LSD for the first time, and I just started getting into these beats, and like the first thing I did was exercise routine, and this was like kind of freestyling. Like I was trying to write, but I couldn't really write all the way. It's kind of where I developed my new even like style of how I write. You know what I'm saying? My raps, stuff now. Um, but yeah, it just kind of flowed together. Like almost the first, I want to say like 5 or 6 songs on the Grotesque and Beautiful are in the order that like he just sent them to me. I recorded them all that day while I was like tripping, and then that's where the story it just kind of created itself. Like it wasn't nothing that was really like planned out. It was just like, all right, this is where I'm at right now. Like let's run with it.
Yeah, I've developed a theory that the reason Ed Glorious beats pull so much out of you is that, or just like anybody that gets an Ed Glorious beat, they end up doing this kind of digging into themselves. And I think Ed will find the like apex soul scream of something, and then he'll wrap it so tight that it's like beckoning at you. And I think that is kind of my experience with it. Does that make sense, Keith?
Yeah, I mean he's on the call now, but I think Ed does a great job of finding like the essence, that important part, that soul of the sample, and really expanding on it and really highlighting it. He's able to find the essence of it, of the sample.
And have you heard this? Have you heard people saying to you like, "You're always pulling the weirdest shit out of me, shit that I didn't necessarily want to talk about"?
Teller and Prose for sure.
Oh yeah,
They've mentioned that before. So it just depends on like the connection with the artist. But I do tend to build strong connections as I'm like working with somebody. So we kind of get on like a personal level. I've always noticed that. So if there's a lot of communication.
yeah.
Mm.
Shout out to Prose. That great album too.
And Ed, what is your background like? what is your musical background? How did you get into production?
Uh, I started out really just like vibing to vinyls when I was like real young, like 6, 5, and then started playing in church, drums,
Mm.
bass, things like that, and then tried to make beats probably around 11, 12 on this program called Hip Hop EJ, which it didn't really add up to anything. But then it was later on in my teen years, like later teen years, where I got a FL Studios, a
Mhm.
cracked version, yeah, and then started making beats that way, really.
Mm. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that you were involved in the church at young, because your beats do have a sense of soul to them, you know. So that it makes sense. It checks out.
Yeah, that's how I started in music too, man. I started off. I used to sing in a choir and do like all the music for the church. My dad was a pastor,
Wow.
so so I used to play, sing in the church, and do all kind of stuff like that. That's where I really got my first start doing that. I used to be in like jazz band and all kind of stuff.
Mhm. That's
Right.
dope. The yeah, and Teller's also one of my favorite producers of this year, and put a lot of good work in himself. Teller, how would you describe what Ed brings to this? What Ed's sound is specifically? It's so signature.
Man, honestly, Ed brings everything to the table as far as I'm concerned. Because really, like a lot of me making music, I feel like I'm more of a vessel. You know what I'm saying? To what's like going on, and so the like the it's like you said. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the times, like the music that he sends me brings something out of me that I'm not even sure what I'm gonna like make in the moment. You know what I mean? I still go through and like listen to each beat kind of individually, and it kind of it takes me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It just takes me to different places. So really, like I feel like he gets. I try to do my best to give him. You know what I'm saying? Like all the credit that he's due. I know I get a lot of the accolades and shit just because like I'm the rapper. You know what I mean? And so it's
Mhm.
easier. A lot of people that are just going to look at it on a surface level are going to give me, you know what I'm saying, what's happening. But, I think why, like, the projects that me and Ed do are so successful, you know what I mean? And not to say that the other projects that I do aren't, or, not to, like, downplay anybody else, because I've done good work with other people, but there's just something, like, real special about that, you know what I mean? I'm real grateful and, like,
Yeah, no, I definitely had that reaction, being like, how could you not do your best work on Finders Keepers? Like, holy smokes!
man,
Yeah, that's a heck of a beat. Maybe that's the spirit of the collaboration, Kay. That like these are two people that are so vividly, uh, like unique, right, and identifiable, right. You play that game with people where you put on a song and you ask them to identify who it is, and the quickest you can do it. I know an Ed Glorious beat immediate,
yeah.
Hmm.
immediate. Um, I don't have to check the credits, and I know when Teller's on the song immediately. I don't have to check the credits. So I think that combined creates something to itself in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's and yeah, there's a flow to the projects. I have like kind of a bumper sticker flow of the projects breakdown to see if I want Teller to correct me if I'm wrong. Teller has all this stuff in his head. So the grotesque and the beautiful, the mission is to set the environment, right? There's a lot of characters in Grotesque and the Beautiful. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of lives going the wrong way, right? So that gives you the world of this collaboration. Uh, the parcel, in my mind, that is the go out and get it music. That is motivation. Trappers and bandits. That is like I will not be stopped. You know, uh, and this album, The I and I, feels like the PTSD album. it feels like after we've gone out and gotten it, and we're alone in our thoughts, and we're just like, oh, you know, I miss these people, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Like that really, I mean, that's pretty spot on, honestly. Like as I got further through the Grotesque and Beautiful, I kind of realized what story I'm telling. Like, you know, it was the environment around where I grew up, essentially. You know what I mean? And what kind of like make everybody the way that they are. And it's kind of like a recurring, like, you know what I mean, a recurring thing. It's you know, I've been explaining to a lot of people like gang culture is a lot kind of like being a military family. You know what I mean? You just kind of grow up and think like, well, that's what you do, and see all of the stuff and the accolades and the, you know, medals and flags and all this stuff, but you don't really know what all like comes with it. And so the Grotesque and Beautiful is kind of from that perspective of like not really even knowing what's like going on yet. You know what I mean? As far as like the things that are actually happening. It's more from like a third person, like narration perspective. You know what I mean? Like I exist in a story, but I'm not like, you know, the main focus. I may be like a couple of songs, right? And then the parcel is more like first person, like you said, kind of like in the moment, in the actual experience of going out and doing all of this stuff, you know. And then the I is, you know, basically now, like the current, you know what I mean? Me being 30, looking back on all the stuff that I've been through and all the things that I've done, kind of like now, through lens of, you know, having a family and like on like truly being a different person than I was when I started out, you know what I mean? And kind of even not, I don't want to say not recognizing even who that person was that I used to be, but you know, feeling more like a spectator of my own life than, you know what I'm saying, somebody that's actually like experienced it. And now being able to analyze and go back and adjust some of my thinking, you know what I mean, where there are certain things that I was taught and told that I know now not to be, you know what I'm saying, even if it's not necessarily false, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot more nuance to life than you're given, you know what I'm saying, at a young age. You know what I'm saying, specifically in the environment, you know what I mean, that I grew up in.
That's awesome.
And so I have a question. So did you intentionally, like, so Ed, knowing what Teller was saying, did you intentionally tailor the production for the meaning or message of each part of each part of the trilogy?
I don't always know what he's gonna say. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of the times it's just like a feeling I have, I guess. Each album's been different, the process. So like the recent one, we actually did kind of think things out, talk stuff out, and then go in with kind of like a plan of like the vibes we wanted for each track. You know what I mean? But the ones before, like the Grotesque and Beautiful and the Part and Parcel, I just created what I felt, and then I felt like they just kind of like matched up perfect.
Yeah, it lined up. There was a lot of like each time me and Ed did an album, there was like some significant wild shit going on, and like both of our, that was like not even necessarily something that we would talk about until kind of like after or later, where we figure out like, oh shit, like yo, okay, like this is what I've been going through, and this is the shit that, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, I just feel like that's just kind of the spiritual aspect of work, or why it works so well together is, you know what I'm saying, from even not having necessarily met each other in person, right? There's just like a definitely like a kindred spirit, you know what I'm saying, that's shared amongst them. So like even the like I feel like there's a need to create with Ed that's the same like within me, where it's like it's not just like a you know, it's like spiritual practice. Like I need to do this to like feel all right, feel that with like Ed with the way that he creates. And I feel like that it just lines up real good.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Kay. I think this collaboration comes from shared emotional space.
Yeah.
Like rather than like an out and out, we're going to talk about this or we're going to do this. It's a shared emotional space from like the beat he sends to like how it hits and what it triggers in telling. That's like it's like that. I guess it's like actors, you remember the behind the scenes stuff on The Sopranos? They were asking the lady Edie Falco, like, what did you talk about with Gandolfini? And she's like, we never talked. We just knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
When the scene started, we just knew what we were doing. And that seems like what was going on.
Wow.
Yep. So that's
especially part and parcel. Like during the part and parcel, man, I was like disappeared, like cut off from the whole universe. Like you couldn't really get me to respond or really holler back about nothing. So like that was almost like a complete. That one was like a different process of probably any album that I've ever done, just because so like going from the studio, like I live in the studio, you know what I mean? So it kind of affords me a different ability when I'm like making my songs to be a little bit more free with it, right? Or like a little more loose in the ways that I can create and kind of like create as I go versus like really being out, like having these beats on my phone and writing in my phone and really writing songs down so I don't forget, you know what I mean, stuff that I'm trying to do. So like I feel like the part and parcel is probably the most like lyrically driven of the three, just because every song that's on there is really like written, like processed out before I even record. Whereas like the Grotesque Beautiful and the I and I, or like I don't want to say like emotionally driven in a bad way. Like I still feel like the lyrical content in it is top tier, but all of it like made in the moment, in the feeling. So like the feelings in each song like very strong. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
With part and parcel is a little more like, I don't want to say subdued in that aspect, but it's more of like, you know, yeah, it's just more heavy than the actual like lyrics of it. Whereas like, you know, you were saying the finders keepers just like it feels good. Like you don't really pay attention to what's going on. Like the instrumental and the feel of the song is just good enough to kind of like make people want to listen to it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the part and parcel specifically, Ed. Like, it feels very much like the most exciting part of the movie. You know,
Okay.
like the beginning of the movie, you set what's going to happen, right? The end of the movie, you conclude it, and that middle, you're sweating, and then you're riveted. And if part and parcel is moving at a faster pace than any of the other ones, I think. Does that make sense? Is it?
Yeah, it does.
Horns. There's more. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sorry.
Was that intentional to make it, to pump up the volume or the BPM or to get it moving?
I don't know if it was intentional. Like I'm more of a go with the flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it just happened and it was just the right thing to do.
It must have just happened and you kind of saw what you had done and the trend you were on. It was like, okay, let's do this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, a little more turned up at that point in time. So I feel like a lot of the stuff that I was making was just more like either like gritty and cold or like kind of more like, you know, more hype, you know. But I feel like it's funny, like the I and I feels to me like the part and parcel mixed with the grotesque and beautiful.
Exactly.
Good way put. Yeah.
Crazy because it wasn't on purpose. I don't remember what. I'm pretty sure the first song that I did was still the first one that ended up being on the record, that Friends joint.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
it was. I just remember it was kind of like every beat that me just felt a little bit like different. You know, it felt bigger. Like, I don't know. It just felt like we were both in a different bag. We kind of took a feel like we took our biggest time, like, I don't want to say like off of communication or off of working with each other, but I feel like we kind of, we were both doing our own thing for a little bit, you know what I mean? And then came back and we each had like a whole new bag that we were in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the timeline for the project? Like, when did you start the Grotesque, and then when did you like start the middle part album, and then when did you start the third one?
Let me see. Let's see. When did I start this? I'm trying to look right now. So, damn. All right. The Grotesque and Beautiful, I started in March 2020.
Okay.
Like right before COVID, I recorded Suicide Hotline. Let me see. But I didn't really start getting into it for real until, oh shit, I guess like 3 weeks later. So yeah. So pretty much in like March. Let me see what the parts talking about. I've never thought about that, honestly. That's a good question.
Because I mean, like, when I think about these three projects, it feels like it's been, I mean, COVID has kind of stretched time and whatnot, but it's only been 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for real. Shit. It's saying I started the part and parcel in October, but that don't sound right. 2021? There's no way I did it that fast.
Nah.
When did you first send me them beats?
I don't know, man. That's yeah, and these three albums feel so connected. Like it's just real interesting. They don't, yeah. Sometimes a series loses its foundation. This one so firmly knows what it's doing. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum, you can sense the momentum. And I think because, it's only been 2 years, to have 3 projects in 2 years, it signifies to me that you're really capitalizing on momentum.
Okay. On the part, actually in like February.
That makes sense. Yeah.
February of 2021. And then when they hit Friends. If it's all around the same time, I'll be like, damn, that's crazy.
You were doing a lot. You were doing a lot.
That should be March.
Working
The
on
I&I we started in March, right?
We started working on the I&I in March, yeah.
Yeah, because I called you in February, going through that one stuff I found out, and then I was like, let's start the project. And we both agreed.
So we always get it going around March, and then it be dropping about 6-7 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that's I was gonna ask Teller, there's something about you. We talked about freedom, right? This year, right? With you releasing Skullface and you wanting to sing and wanting to be happy and wanting freedom in your art to not be kind of caged within the expectations of anyone. The talk about the emotional variety that Ed Glorious is able to provide in the production. Like, is it a comfortable place for you? Is it an uncomfortable place for you?
Man, nah, Ed works like a maniac. He sent me a package of beats. I have so many Ed Glorious beats in my computer, I don't even know if I ever have counted them, but I know it's like hundreds of them. You know what I mean? Really go through a lot of beats for each project. And in this particular, a lot of the other projects were kind of like just recorded in a way where it was like when I finished the last song, I knew. And this, I probably recorded another like 5 or 6 songs that ended up not making the album. So this was the one where like, so all of the other albums, they were done in a short period of time. Like the Grotesque and Beautiful, you know what I mean? I probably got that first beat and then sat on everything for a minute. But once I started going, like the whole of Grotesque Beautiful was recorded and finished in like 2 weeks. And then all from there was just planning out a time to drop it, right? And then like the part and part was written in like over a span of like probably like a month or two, and then recorded all within like probably a week or so, just because it was done. With the I, like we really started, I really like spaced it out. Like I was recording a lot of different things at the time. I was recording stuff for myself. I was recording I was even recording stuff for Skullface around the time that I was doing stuff for the I. So these songs like span a lot further apart. So that whole, like, I probably recorded the last few songs for the album. Like, if I recorded that first song March 8th, then, some of the last songs on the album got finished in like August. So this one has a lot further like span of time, what I mean? In terms of like me getting in and recording the songs and really taking time, to put songs together, and I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like of all of the projects, the I is the listen. You know what I mean? Like it's a good one, even though it's the last one. Like I could see it being the best one for somebody to start with. Go back through the other ones. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I feel like it has the most like broad appeal to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got the range from Fetty Wap to the Truth, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it has elements of both of the previous parts of the trilogy in it. So, you're right. That's the most accessible one, I would say.
And I honestly, bro, I was like, man, I thought for a minute there, I was like, all right, if this album doesn't do well, like I'm probably just gonna pack it up for a minute. You know what I mean? And just right. Because I was getting real frustrated just with a lot of stuff that was going on just in my personal life. And like, when things are kind of hard in both areas, like you can't quit your regular life. So you just be willing to like stop. You know what I'm saying? Like I just was in like a spot where it was like, I had a lot of anxiety about this album, more than I've had for anything I've ever released or anything I've ever done. I probably have at least 10 different final mixes of every song. I did the mastering on every record. So like, Ed was like, if it wasn't for Ed, like I don't know when this album would have came out, because I was so in my head about everything that was going on that it was like I really leaned on him like probably the most through this album, through the process of making this album, than I did on any other joint. Like he probably heard the songs more in advance done on this album than any other album. You know what I mean? As far as like really sitting with it and being able to live with it and like, listen to it before it was done. Because a lot of the other stuff was done like kind of like bang, bang, and then it just existed like that. And then when it was time to come out, it was like on this one, it was like, yo, I need you to listen to these mixes. All right, I need you to listen tomorrow. The next day, I'm like, yo, I got a whole new set of mixes on every song. I need you to listen to them. Give me notes on every last one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that was the first. The process was really like, I just felt like a lot was riding on it, and like for me, it really wasn't, you know what I mean, on like an actual like career level, right? Just like on a personal level, you know what I mean. I felt like I had a lot riding on this album, just because it felt like one of the most personal ones to me as well. You know what I mean? But yeah, just like the best that we seen off of it, it really like helped me. You know what I'm saying? Even like go forward with some of the other projects that I'm working on, and even like get ready. Me and Ed are already started. So, really kind of help put that battery back on my back as far as even like, figuring out the whys of, what I'm saying, what I'm actually doing.
Yeah. No, it's and it makes sense because that fits the creative process, Kay. That like the beginning of the creative process is fun as hell. You have a blank canvas and you go wherever you want to go. You have every option. But once you developed the story, once you developed where you want to go, and you care about what you're doing to like just a much greater extent, then
Yeah.
it becomes like I got to stick this fucking land. Like,
Right.
yeah. So I 100% I've been there. It's brutal.
It's
Yeah,
kind
but
of, you know what I mean? Like, especially when it's getting to a point where, you know, like the numbers actually do matter as far as like trying to stay in like a career or even like sponsorships or stuff like that, to where like, you know, or when you're just expressing yourself and you're kind of just hoping for stuff, right? It's different than when you kind of have expectations that are put on you. It's no longer like you know, you're just hoping, wishing for results. You really got to like plan and execute, because there are consequences to take, you know, and not just you, for the other people that are involved in the project as well. Like, I don't know, this one just felt like it had a lot of high stakes to it, and it was very gratifying. You know what I mean? To even see like a lot of the support and like a lot of, you know, things that have come from doing the album. You know, it kind of like, it was like a much needed confirmation at the time. You know what I mean? Everything was going on. Really wasn't sure how it was gonna go at that point.
right.
So Ed, I would ask Ed. Ed, what was your relationship to the I at this point? Like, how were you feeling about the project and the process during the creation of it?
Nervous.
Oh,
Really, at the beginning, I didn't even know where to start, beat wise or anything. But and throughout the process, just like I began to get more confident. But at the same time, as he was explaining himself, it's like I could hear how good the music was and everything, and you're just like, all right, well, this next beat, Teller's good at guiding me on what he wants to rap on. So like we'll get a canvas, like we'll get like 5, 6 songs in, and he'll start like steering me like maybe something a little along these lines, and he'll leave me creative room to find the samples I want and whatnot. But really before that process, when we started building up a nice little amount of songs, I was just kind of nervous going into the whole thing because we coming off of the Part and Parcel and the Grotesque and Beautiful. I felt like those were real big shoes to fill. Like those albums were really good to me, so I was just kind of sitting there like, man, I didn't know what direction initially I wanted to take. You know what I mean, beat wise on sound selection and whatnot. So I think anxiety is a good word to use throughout the whole process, probably.
Yeah.
So towards the end, though, there was a level of confidence where I knew we had crafted something that was really great. But at the beginning, I was just kind of nervous.
was there like a song or moment where like both clicked for you guys? Like, okay, we got this. We can relax now. Like, this is everything is where it's supposed to be.
So we had done, I think he said Friends first. There's another, he had done 2 more songs that I don't think even made the project, though, the final cut. I think it was when I got Pop Star, Ride With Me, and then, see, I can't remember. I think Fetty Wap was later in the process.
Yeah, Fetty Wap was
Finders,
like,
yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know, it's just like, after those first like 5 or 6, I can't remember exactly. It just all felt right. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Coming together. Yeah.
it was me. Like, Friends, like when Ed first sent me the pack of beats, it was the first time that he sent me beats, and like I didn't start writing like immediately. Like, I listened through, usually, like, so Ed will even tell you, like, sometimes I don't even get through all of the beats until like we on the album again, and then I'll start going through it, and I'll accidentally end up listening to some old shit and being like, "Yo, is this still available?" And it'd be first album sessions, and figure out, you know what I'm saying, if you send it to somebody else or whatever. And so like, it was the first time I kind of listened through to the beats, and it was like when I heard the beat for Ride With Me, I just knew, I was like, okay, I'm not ready to like even try to attempt this one yet. I need to go back to that first beat and really like sit about it. And like, you know, I was going through some shit, like falling out with some friends, and like I had a real bad falling out with one of like my closest friends. You know what I'm saying? Like some stuff that probably just can't. I don't know if it could be reconciled, type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just like I really was. You know what I'm saying? It was like late at night, and I was just laying in bed, like thinking about just stuff, and I just remember like I put my headphones in, I put that Friends beat on, and it was just like, okay, like I just started writing, you know what I mean? And then I was like, all right, like every song that I wrote, like going into the beginning was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just like, it was directly inspired by some shit that I had like just experienced that day, scene or like something, you know what I mean? And I was just kind of like, all right, just kind of letting it happen. And then, you know, yeah, it was like we hit a point where I knew where I wanted to go with it. Even like I didn't even know what I was going to first. I had a whole different name for the project and everything, and then I finally realized like, oh, okay, this is what it is. Like, you know.
That's awesome. No, that's incredible story. Ed, I was gonna ask you, one of my favorite things about Teller is these confoundingly marvelous hooks, right?
Yeah.
That I can't get enough of, right? And some of them, re-listening to the three, I was just overwhelmed by them, and I was like, there has to be hooks when you got the song back where you were like, I couldn't have even imagined that. Like, do you have any that stuck out or?
Initially on the I, it was a Pop Star. Well, Pop Star and Fetty Wap. I
Yeah,
was just like, I was blown away. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I was like awestruck. That's the thing is like, so I'll send him a beat, and you kind of like in your head, you envision what you think
Mhm.
Teller would do, and then he just goes above and beyond what you think he's gonna do. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
like when I sent those beats, I was like, oh yeah, I know he's gonna do something real dope on this. And then I was blown away when I got those joints back. Uh, I mean, there's so many to be honest. Anytime like it just happened over and over again on this on every project to be real.
I mean, did you get any prior warning that the woo-ha shit was gonna happen?
No, no.
That must have been a first listen for the ages. That must have been awesome.
Yeah,
Because that
Demons.
was took me by surprise. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then Cain and Abel took off on the Spotify, so I feel like that was real cool because, like, you know, Busta Rhymes like one of my favorite rappers, even especially when I was a kid. Like, and I just remember like I've always watched like performances. Like I grew, you know, the house. We watched every Saturday Night Live. We watched every award show. Everything that there was going to be like live music on. Every late show that there was a performer. Like I watched them, and it was like, man, the rappers was down bad. You know what I mean? Like a lot of rappers are just not good live performers, and so whenever a rapper would perform live and impress me, it would like really stick with me. And Busta Rhymes was like one of the first rappers I remember seeing perform live where I was like, oh, okay, like this is how you do that shit. Or like one of the first rappers that I seen the video where I was like, you know, when you're a kid, like, you know, I don't know, like you like girls, but at a certain point, it's kind of almost like intimidating. And so, like, a lot of the shit that was out when I was a kid, like the videos, you know, it was hard for me to really connect with because I just wasn't there yet with like having, you know what I'm saying, like those type of like desires yet when you're like 8 or 9. But I remember all of the Busta Rhymes videos was just like very cinematic, like, you know,
Yeah.
shit that I felt like, you know, there was like a different type of level of artistry behind, you know? And so I felt like he didn't get a lot of, like, you know, the credit that I feel like a lot of cats get or the second wind even in a career that some of these get. So I just wanted to make sure that I paid like my, you know, personal homage just to that because like a lot of that, you know what I mean, when I think about it is like the reason why I can even be kind of like more free with the way that I rap and have people respect it, you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
is because Busta Rhymes kind of like opened that door for that type of like wild charisma, you know what I mean, and like Cat B as well, but like, you know, that's a whole different type of vibe, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but I think one of the things I like the most about Cain and Abel and how you were able to capture that is like you captured that it has to be the largeness of the voice, right? You filled the whole universe with your voice, like in that song. And that's what Busted did, right? Busted stepped in and was like, there's nothing but me in this huge coat. Like, I don't give a fuck. And that's amazing. That you really captured that. But Kay, in terms of some of my favorite hooks in the trilogy, Genesis, the Skunks.
Yeah.
It's such a good hook that Skunks in the middle of the song is just like, this is one of the best songs I've ever been on. And just says it. It's awesome.
This is my man's too. Like, he's a real cool dude too. Yeah, man. That beat, that one in Moses, I remember like though that was just everything that I needed when he sent me those. So when I finally got the pack, I don't remember if he had sent them new and I listened to them or if I finally just got down to them, was like, holy shit. But I remember even like on the part and parcel, like just kind of everything felt like more conversational. Like even my voice felt like different on that album than normally it is. Like everything a little bit softer, even though it was like songs that wasn't like, I felt like it was more of my natural speaking tone that I was even rapping in versus like, I don't know. I rap in a more animated voice and tone, Um, but like that Genesis just felt different. I felt like I was just like breathing words, you know what I'm saying? And the beat just brought, perfectly. I don't even remember how I came up with the hook. I'm pretty sure I just was like freestyle and that whole song just like because the way I write now is more or less like, just like singular words or like phrases. I kind of have like an idea in my mind and then I kind of a lot of the words I don't want to say is like filled in, but it's like I don't want to lock myself into any set of like syllables or ways to like deliver it because a lot of the times I'll mess myself up, trying to read it or trying to rap it exactly how we're writing it, and sometimes I'll catch into a better flow if I just allow myself to be more free with it. That was one of them songs where I just like I maybe wrote like 8 bars of stuff and then like just started going with it. And I probably have like 7 or 8 takes of that verse, and they're all different. And then that one was the one that ended up being like the perfect, setup. But I don't remember how I ended up connecting with Skunks on that song. Me and him had just been locked in, like talking about other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember thinking like he would be a good like change of pace. You know what I'm saying? From how I was rapping, because like sometimes like I feel like when I send out features, like some people will try to like not necessarily even like in a bad way, but they'll kind of follow suit with what I'm doing on the record. And I knew that like Skunks was just gonna do some whole different shit. Like that's just how he is. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that it would be in like a good like, and I already had like line sequence of doofus for that next joint. So it was either gonna be like Skunks or Prose, and I went with Skunks because I had never did a song with him before.
Awesome. Kay, put you on the
Yeah.
spot here. Fun game. I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite Ed Glorious beat on each project.
Oh man.
Let me go first.
Yes, please do.
Since I'm putting you on the darn spot. Okay. So I'm gonna go in reverse order. I'm gonna start with the I, and I'm gonna take
Okay.
8 as my pick.
You said Cain and Abel?
No, that's from a different one. Sorry. That's from a different one. Yeah. No, I'm gonna go with Demons. Let's go Demons. Go Demons on that. And then we got the Part and Parcel. Because Amos was on Part and Parcel. I was looking at that. I'm gonna go Steel on the Part and Parcel. Steel is hard as shit. Love it so much. And let me see, pull up Grotesque and the Beautiful. Okay, did you know when I pull up Teller Banks in my Bandcamp, I have 2 rows of Teller Banks. 2 rows.
He's done a lot of projects, so it makes sense.
That's tough. That's tough. I love Grotesque and the Beautiful so much. I'm probably gonna go with. I'm gonna go with the Cycle. Dark Horse. Because it was tough. The Piggy Pop is unbelievable.
Yes.
Great beat. But I'm gonna go in the Cycle. Give me one for me. What do you think?
I'll go. So from the Grotesque and Beautiful, I liked The Poet, which was right before Piggy Pop. And then, I mean, for the part in the Parcel, I think my favorite was Psalms, the opener.
Right.
I loved Psalms. I thought it was like it set the tone for the whole album. And it's just great. And then for I'm gonna have to go. I think everything really started to click for me for I, starting at Cain and Abel.
Yep. Nope. Just want to get that out there. Do you have any runs on the I that you love, especially run of songs?
Me? I mean, yeah. Starting, as I said, from Cain and Abel, Finders Keepers, Pages, and Hitman.
Ooh, yep. Yeah, that brings me to the guest star segment, because the Hitman. We have to talk about it. There was a recent episode of Call Out Culture. It was a while ago, but they asked who would you buy stock in, and Zilla said Teller Banks. Is stock, because you want a stock that's going to appreciate, right? And you're coming up beautiful, and I think Akeem Ishu is like that as well.
Oh yeah, I would definitely back in Akeem, man. He's one of the best rappers I've ever heard, like anywhere. He like inspired me to like want to rap better. He's been my good friend for like shit. I don't even know how many years now. Like years. Vic like introduced us low key on like just like on the tweet, like mentioned us both together that he liked both of our music or some shit. And then me and him just kind of like connected and we've gotten pretty close like but man, he's like an incredible artist. Like some of the stuff that he does is like incredible to me. Like, as a lyric, like just even like conceptually, man, he's on a different level sometimes.
And the range of Ishu is startling, right? Like there are times where I'm listening to an Akeem Ishu project and I'm like, man, this is like the new Q-Tip. This is incredible. And then like the next song is just filthy and amazing, And I'm like, wow, it sounds like a different artist. Like he's got so much variance and range, but the flow, I love. It seems very important to the universe of these projects.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I need me and Akeem supposed to do an album together for a long time. We actually started. I want to say like tentatively started working on it, but somebody I feel like definitely deserves more. I don't want to say like deserves more recognition in a bad way,
right?
But like definitely somebody that I feel like just needs to get seen. He's got that kind of talent where it's just like anybody that likes music sees that shit and is gonna appreciate it.
Yeah, the problem with calling someone underrated is it makes it sound like they're losing, but they're not. Like, people, the audience is losing out on hearing Akeem Ishu, right? Like, they need to be able to just enjoy that and lock in there. But the whole series has been a showcase for just unique voices, right? Doof, Sequence, Flashes, Clayton, people with very different flows.
Guys,
And who are some of your favorite guest features on that? On this movie? Impressive verse.
Man, I gotta think about that for a second. Definitely Hakeem on both joints. Man, really all of them. Honestly, like the song Pages with AJ Suede is like one of my favorite joints. Um, just because of like, I don't know, like he's a good rapper, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. I'm trying to think who else is on the I and I. It's Akeem. Oh, Pop Star, man. With
Rent Money.
Money.
Rent Money's great. Yeah.
Man, like my homie for real, for real. From Des Moines. Oh no, he's not actually from Des Moines. He live in Des Moines. But he live out here. He's been living here since like high school, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he just kind of bullied his way onto the song too. Like he was just in the studio. I was working on it. I had recorded and was like playing new stuff, and he was like, "I got a verse for this." You know what I'm saying? And like, he's a good rapper. He's somebody that like, I'm real like standoffish. You know what I mean? I don't like working with a lot of people. I really like say no to a lot of people. And he hit me up about doing some music like around the time when I don't want to say when I first moved to Des Moines, but like when I first started like stuff. And people vouched for him and said, "Oh no, he can rap." You know what I mean? Like work with him. So like he sent me a beat and I gave him a verse on it, but he never put nothing on it. And so like I just like wrote it off every time. You're like, "Yo, try to get in the studio with you," I just wouldn't respond to it. And hosted this like rap like we did an album. It's called 1810, where we kind of like hosted a lot of the artists in town just to come through to the studio, like work on songs and put beats together. And we did a lot of songs like collaboration songs. And he really stood out on the project. Like he hopped on a couple of joints and really like he was really rapping his ass off. And so I was kind of like, okay, like no, you actually are a rapper. So that kind of like sparked the friendship. But then we just started spending, you know what I'm saying? He just started coming through, like hanging out, kicking it, smoking and shit. And yeah, started just hopping on songs. And Popstar was one of the first ones that he really like hopped on. And it was like, it just kind of it just fit perfect. The whole energy and vibe of the song. But yeah, he was probably my favorite on I just because it was like, it wasn't even like planned or thought about. He was the one, I didn't even originally plan on having no features on the I and I. But then once he did that and got on there, and it was like, well, shit, he's just kind of like, ambushed the album. So I was like, fuck it, all right, I'll let some other folks hop on there. I sent Akeem the Hitman joint, and then I think I just did a feature for AJ Suede, so it was like just fine to send him one of the joints, and it was a good thing that I sent him the joint that I did, because the other one I was gonna send him ended up getting cut from the project. Because I ain't even gonna lie, like I put this verse on there, and I couldn't remember if I had already put it on something else, but I thought I might have a while back and didn't put it out. I just couldn't find the song, and I was like, man, this verse is incredible. Like I need to put this verse on something, and it ended up going on Sleep, the Voodoo Box.
The Voodoo Box, yeah. That's
That feature old, and they finally like hit me up like, yo, we gonna finally drop the joint. I was like, oh, okay, bet. So it was like perfect timing, like right before, what I'm saying, I put it out or whatever. But yeah, it was disastrous. Not disastrous. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the situations where it's like I'm kind of like touching on songs. So once the vibe is fucked up, it's like, oh, that song's ruined. Fuck it, throw shit away. But
the other thing is, Ed, I can't picture Piggy Pop without Sleep Sinatra. He just seems like the only one who could have done that.
Yeah, and Sleep is a good.
What were you saying, Ed?
Yeah, he's the perfect fit for Piggy Pop.
So yeah, it's a great feature there. Yeah, no,
Ed, were there any of the collaborations of the projects that you were really fond of in particular?
Doofus on Moses. That's one of my favorite ones.
Mm.
Awesome.
Same with Rent Money as well. And I wasn't even familiar with Rent Money. That song just got Teller sent that. I was like, yo, who's this? I love that one as well.
Doof. The thing about Doof is that Doof is so funny and wild that you forget how intelligent and calculated he is. Like Doof is awesome. Like
Yes.
Everything time I re-listen to Doof, I feel like I have to get retaught by Doof how many layers there are. It's real cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's dope.
And this is the best Sequence has been. Like I think Sequence is at his best right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Sequence be making some good music, man.
Hell yeah. I told him. Yeah.
Sequence be making good music, and like he's a good dude too. He's a real good dude.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That Kay, I was gonna move towards recommendation corner unless you have
no.
So the first thing I would want to recommend here, I've joined Open My Secret Club Patreon thing.
Okay.
Somebody on there recommended an album called Painless by Niloufar Yanya. It's real dope.
Painless by Okay, how do you spell that?
Nilufer.
Okay.
And Yanya, Yanya.
Okay.
It's like she's from the UK. It's very much seems like that brand of music that like Nico from the Velvet Underground started, of this kind of sparse, emotional folk rock soul thing. It's real dope. I really like it. What else came out? Oh, Josh Virtue Rama is wild. Josh Virtue's dope. From Chicago. Yeah. He's always got interesting things to say. And Archibald Slim dropped an album just today, actually. Worldly Ways, and it's smooth. Archibald Slim's got a very smooth, slick flow to him. I like it. Yeah. So I think those are what I'm going to stick with. Oh, I got good news, Kay. We have tiers to the Patreon. Someone from the higher tiers, I reached out and I said, you get to recommend, because you pay me so much, you get to recommend what album I should review.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me a list of albums as options, and Styles P, Gangster and a Gentleman was on it. So I'm about to lock in on that. I'm going to have a lot of fun writing about that. So
sure.
This is a heck of an album for me. So everybody has their own favorite Locks member, and Styles is mine. So I'm gonna do that justice. So yeah, that's what's happening on my end of things. Ed, what are you listening to? Give us some recommendations.
Been listening to that new Jid album.
Oh, the Forever Stuff.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I've been playing outside of like beats and stuff.
Fun to listen to.
Yeah, it's a really great listen. Has a lot of different unique sounds I didn't expect to hear on his project. I think Teller should go on tour with him.
Ooh, that fan base makes sense. That's
right.
Yeah.
They would love Teller. So I just that's what I've been listening to really.
Man. And then Teller gets an Ari Lennox feature.
Yeah.
What?
No feature.
No feature. The the J. Cole feature? That would be fun. That would be fun. But yeah, it's that's awesome. Kay, what are you bumping? What are you doing?
Oh man, nothing new of recent, but I did go back to Billy Wood's last album that he released. I'd never heard it before. Kind of.
Which one were you listening to?
Let me pull it up. It's the new one, Churches, I believe.
Church is the new one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean he dropped that kind of quietly, and so I've just been enjoying that.
Yeah, no, I really love that stuff too. It's a similar situation where Messiah has been working with Wood so long, they have a language to themselves. It's really cool, which I really like. Kay, do you have Showtime?
I can watch it. Yeah, I think my friend does, so I can.
You get together with your friend. There's a mess of a show on Showtime that is absolutely hilarious, called American Gigolo. It's an unbelievable show. I need to tell you a little bit of the cat. John Bernthal is a gigolo, right? Which makes sense because he's got a boxer's nose and a mixed martial artist's ears, right? It all works out. But the tough cop is Rosie O'Donnell, right? And John Bernthal's best friend from gigoloing is Wayne Brady. It's all making sense? So it's a mess of a show. It is all over the place, and it is hilarious. So I am riveted by it. You know, real money goes into this shit, and I can't get enough.
I'm intrigued now.
They need content, so they'll throw it up there, and we'll see if it works, figure it out in season 3. But yeah,
big names.
Yeah, watch American Gigolo and ask yourself what the fuck is going on. Yeah. So, Teller, what do you listen to? Give us some recommendations.
Shit, I've been listening to that Freddie Gibbs album. Woo! That shit's pretty cool. STG album is pretty good. I thought STG raps just like me, but like in a good way. Like I feel like he's like, I don't know. I always pick somebody where I'm like competing with, where I'm like, all right, I do that way better though. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about him right now. But he's making some good music. Who else I've been listening to? Baby Money. He got a new album that's out. Sleep Sinatra album just listened to for the first time. Actually earlier today. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I dig
it. I don't know how you saying, but he's dope. That was a good look. That made me happy for him that he Sleep's been dope for me. He's one of the guys I remember too when I first started rapping that kind of like was already around doing shit, you know what I mean? So it's dope to kind of see him getting his I've been listening to the Wrong Streets album. I'll be listening to a lot of music all day, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't really get into the Jet album too much. But yeah. Oh, and this cat Lil Jeremy I'll be listening to a lot of like reckless, like wild shit. I don't know how to explain it. Like I take my time and listen to like whatever's like popping in the underground. But I try not to listen to a lot of stuff because I feel like I don't know, just depending on what kind of music I'm working on at the time, I don't like to I don't know. I just don't like to be pulling in different stuff. I like to kind of stay in my zone.
And in defense of your point, Teller, I can say definitively, as someone who listens to just a shitload of this music, underground music takes a lot out of me. Like, if I'm listening to 3 underground albums in a row about somebody's life falling apart, that shit, I want a little bit, little TJ. Like, I want, throw me something that I can smile at a little bit, It's just been hard. There's some albums where I've been listening to, I'm like, I respect this, but damn, I got shit to do today. I can't,
Yes.
No, 100%. Like all kind of music. I used to be a real music snob. Like I used to only listen to like, quote unquote real hip hop. I didn't like shit like that was out, or you know what I mean. There was only a little bit of shit. I always was exposed to shit and like you know, I like the Cash Money shit when I was like younger growing up, just because it had a, it had a kind of vibe to it. But I was really, I don't know. It took me like getting older to really even have like appreciation for like different type of sound, type of music. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people hate Young Thug. Like he's one of the like most hated in like our community, right? Of like as far as like rappers go, but really he was one of my main inspirations as far as like even rapping, because a lot of the time, like, if I really like slow down and like enunciate and force myself to do it, like, I can speak pretty well, but like I have a lot of issues with like pronunciation and like all kind of stuff. So when I really get free and start rapping, like sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand me. You know what I mean? And so like Young Thug was really one of the rappers that gave me the confidence to even be able to just rap in a way that's comfortable for me to rap. And like part of the reason why my music is a lot better than it was when I first like started making music. You know what I mean? Because I was that's with like the pronunciation and enunciation of every word and syllable and chopping all my syllables so perfectly, and you know what I mean, making sure all of my everything was just pronounced in a way that was like clean and crisp. And that really just kind of like opened the hearing that and hearing the response to it being just like people fucked with it.
Yeah.
It just kind of like up to being more like loose and free even with the way that I record. So that kind of like opened me up to really listening to a lot more stuff than I feel like I would normally listen to, and gaining like a newer appreciation for just like the different types of talent that come with, what I'm saying, like vocal performance as far as rap goes. Because lyricism is like one, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people who can write a lot of like great shit that can't really rap for shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of different levels to all kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that story reminds me of like what we always say on here, Kay, that like you are initially taught when you're a creative person to work on your weaknesses, but reality you should be working on your strengths. Right? Like your strengths are what
I
make
don't know. I feel like it could go either way. You know what I mean? I feel like I wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying, as good as I am now if I didn't go through them phases. And I feel like part of the issue with like a lot of the people that's making music right now is because everything is so like I don't want to say everything is so based, but everything is so based in like it's so formulaic, it's so algorithm based, right? That a lot of people are just doing that one thing that works. And so then it's like, like not to like rap on the girl because everybody already been doing it, but like you get situations with like the Ice Spice Girl where it's like, okay, it works, and now you're at the height of your shit, but you don't have any other real tangible skills. You gotta hard up with the people that you've gotten to, because all of your, you know what I'm saying, whatever you want to call it, if you're talking about 2K my player or whatever,
right.
all of your, you know what I'm saying, you don't have your other stats enough to like diversify the game to keep people in game. You know what I mean? So I feel like there is something to like, the grind period. And I feel like all of the best like artists and producers and stuff that's out right now, they have those grind periods under their belt. You know what I mean? When you really think about it, they have those times where it was like shit wasn't really working out well, or people didn't really fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? And it eventually that mode where it kind of clicked. Like I feel like there's a lot more like that's when it comes that way versus like, you know what I'm saying, the other way. And I feel like there are people who have made it, you know what I'm saying, on both sides, but I definitely feel like it's important, you know what I'm saying, especially like in the beginning of like trying to like really work on your craft, you know what I mean, to be that critical on yourself, and you know what I mean, like being your biggest critic will end up through the most. And it also helps to have people around you, like I said earlier about even finishing the album. It helps to have people around you that can,
Yep.
that kind of outweigh the doubts that you have in your own mind sometimes. But a lot like what's gonna drive you to be like great. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even that you doubt yourself, it's just that, you know, you feel a like urgency to improving. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, it's trial and error knowledge, right? Trial and error like gains. And if you come up naturally, you can go left on your first project, go right on the second project. You can show your audience, look, hang out with me, you can trust me. I'm going to make choices, but it's going to work out.
Mhm.
Whereas when Ice Spice dropped, I never tweeted about it. I never said anything about it. I listened to it, was like, this is cool, and I'll see what else you do. Right? Like, I don't review people based on one song. That's not what I do. Like, you have to have a body of work for me to look at in order for me to really dive into what you're doing. Because it's not fair for anybody otherwise. I'm just making shit up.
And now, that's like the second thought. You know what I mean? The first thought is just to get the thing that's going to, because with streaming, the purchase is already made. So it's
Yep.
just, let's get to it. So if you can get the eyes to it, then everything else becomes, secondary.
Content creation. Yeah, it's a big issue.
You're going to start who don't even get necessarily like whole record deals. They're just going to get deals to do singles, and like they might just do a few singles. That makes more sense. You know what I mean? If I was Ice Spice, I wouldn't put an album out.
Right.
I'll ride that as far as I can ride it and keep working on something else and making songs and running it by people and trying to see if I could come up with something else that's going to hit as big as that. And I would just try to drop something every, like 6 months. And now in today's and shit, you know what I mean? You can have a decent career doing some shit like that and never have to even subject yourself to being fucking tore up in, you're already going to get your ass kicked in the blogs or whatever anyway, but you don't have to ridicule. You don't have to do the expenditure of making a full studio album that people are just going to be like, this shit sucks anyway.
Yeah, it's like that Kyle guy. You know that Kyle person? He's like, he has like platinum records, platinum singles all over the place, but nobody reps those albums. He's got like a Netflix movie and all that. But you can parlay that stuff. It's a way to live. But yeah, that's a real concern, and that's why I don't. Rock Marciano should get more credit on the business model end. That Rock Marciano was able to go and say, "Hey, look, I'm dropping my album in a few weeks. If you want it before anyone else in the world, pay me directly, and I'll send you the MP3."
Yeah,
and it was like nothing I had ever seen. Yeah. Like, it's like I had the album before Pitchfork. Like, how wild is that? And that was a game changer, and that material economy is going to be important as the music industry continues to break down.
And he had a prime period too, because he was on what's it called Flip Mode with Busta Rhymes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? It's only imagine the type of ups and downs come with a career like that, and have him take the faith and just invest in stuff, and he has sound, and a sound that was so different at the time that he really stepped out. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think about Marsburg, when did that come out? 2012?
2012, yeah.
Yeah, shit wasn't really sounding like that in 2012. A lot of Griselda gets the credit for making it look real good. A lot of the underground shit was barefooted cats at the coffee shop, what I'm saying, on tuckins and shirts and shit, and bell bottoms and shit like that. And it was something that was always really good, but once you got out of that neo soul era, a lot of people just really see that and connect with it, see that, and it didn't have that appeal that people had. So once people started seeing oh no, you could be super fly and you could have all the diamonds and you could be in the club popping bottles and doing all of that shit too, off of a sound that's more reserved for typically a different environment, right? Yep. Then I feel open the doors. But as far as the sound goes, like I said, it's just, I feel like that investment period is important. You know what I mean? When you're doing the shit and it's not necessarily, I don't even say not paying off, but it's that you're building for something that's bigger and not just chasing shit that's going on in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure with the connections he had, he could have went and been a writer for anybody. He could have went and did really anything. Who knows what the fuck really he was doing in that span of time. But to step out of it and decide that this is the route you want to go after being next to, you know what I'm saying, like different types of shit, different business models or whatever, you mean going the major route and doing all of that, there's just a lot to mean, like that opened a lot of doors, even like people's minds to think differently, you know?
Yeah, you're gonna, as an independent artist, you are the player, the coach, the general manager, and the owner, right? And so you've got, being a strategist is as important an element in your emceeing as being a beat picker, right? Like it's in there, and we're starting to see the people with good teams and good strategic understanding of where they are win, and other people, struggle. And it's, build your infrastructure, get your team, know what you're doing, and have a plan for every element of it. Every element. Make sure your mix is right. No one's coming to that mix. That's my ending segue.
What will tomorrow bring?